Okie dokie, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Alrighty. Let me go and do that. There we are. Okay. Hi, I am Flint, aka Flintworth, and yeah, welcome to my first little, live stream video. Um, I thought I'd go and give it a shot, and yeah. And go figure. I knew that there was going to be a few little hiccups on my first attempt, my first stab at getting this thing to work. That my OBS decided that now would be a good time to ask me to, well, reinstall an update. So go figure. As my mom like to say, if something could go wrong, it will go wrong when it comes to, well, when it comes to technology, yes. So, little bit of background on me, if this is your first time checking me out. I'm a DM of about 3 years, which I know isn't exactly a lot, but what I feel like, has makes my story a little bit different is that during that entire time, I have rarely gone on without doing at least one or more games a week. I actually presently now I'm currently running 2 games with about 6 to 8 players at a time, almost concurrently as I go along. So 3 years, about at most 8 players a session, about 4 or 5 games finished overall, has led me to a little bit of being pushed into the deep end of bringing my talents up to par, up to snuff, as it were. Um, so I've learned a few things. I picked up quite a lot. I had to learn a lot real quick, real soon, and it's done well for me. It's done well. But not to get too off the beaten path, I see right now that my chat is presently broken. I'm gonna go fix that real quick. So if you have been saying stuff, I am sorry. I can't see a thing. I would be surprised if I have been talking to no one right now. That is fine. I know I am not a big name, and that's all right. So let me go and refresh that. There we go. Okay, that should be all set. Ready, right ho. Okay, so without any further ado, let's look at this software I have here. For those who don't know it, I'm glad to introduce you to a software called Wonderdraft. It's a wonderful piece of software made from one of my favorite companies. Let me bring up that name. Let's see. Well, the company is called Megasprout, and you can find this software over in the Humble Bundle, kind of like library or collection of programs. But so you see here right now is my overworld map for my custom D&D setting. I've always called this one myself, well, I guess without any further ado, this is my map of a world I call Versailles. It is a place filled up with various countries, various peoples and cultures, to the point that, here about the names, there we go, I have about almost a slew, a variety of different peoples I can take into my games and use them to bring to life. For instance, so if you see over here on the, if I can make this work how it should, come on, don't be camera shy for me now. Go figure. There we go. That in this lovely, lovely world. Come on, you can do it. There we go. I'm gonna try to make the zoom work. That this continent over here, I have, for instance, a display of different countries. Now, for those who know their D&D lore, you can see I have Faerun and Barovia kind of like smushed into here. And that is, yeah, by design. I When I first made this world, I knew that I was going to be borrowing stuff from various popular modules. So I wanted to make sure there was a section of my map that be like, hey, you have Barovia in there, or if as well as Baldur's Gate, Waterdeep, and a few others. That if I ever wanted to bring those into my world, I didn't have to be like, oh, and poof, they exist now. Like, no, I wanted to plan ahead. So that's kind of like where I have like my little offshoot. I mean, you don't have to have this. I did, but I kind of like the rest of the world kind of spawned off of this. And what's cool about making your own maps is that if you look at it, you can actually go and at any point in time, be like, yeah, that country over there. Let's say like this little country of Uigarth up in the upper left hand corner. That it is. Like at any point, you can just switch it around because hey, you're the map maker. You control all of this world. That you can just swap it out like you would a video game in a console. So that's my point, though. I know I'm getting kind of rambly. Is that map making to me? I think is one of the most crucial, one of the most important skills you should have in your back pocket as a DM, because it is the thing that allows you to go and plan ahead. Not even say plan ahead, it allows you to improvise that much better. Because say you had your adventurers exploring a city in Faerun, like classic Baldur's Gate, and they ask you, about the world, and for a reason you could argue and say that, hey, are there dragonborns nearby? Be like, yes, you can, based on your prior work, be like, yes, here in Uriel, this little lovely blue country we have right here, there is in fact dragonborns, and they happen to border. It's, if anything, with good map creation, to put it simply, is that you're not setting up like plans upon plans. No, you're setting up essentially your home for a grand party. It is like planning snacks, for later that night. It is like making sure you have a good, decent movie collection. You may not actually draw upon it. If you don't, that's fine. But if you do, you're prepped. You are ready for the oncoming storm. That's how I've always viewed it. That's how I always looked at map making. In that, the more I fleshed out, the more I let my imagination wander and just put things to the side, the more I could make my worlds, my people, come to life. Because that way, as I go along with my games or just randomly put up encounters, I could then go and draw upon the different peoples. I can draw upon those different societies and beliefs to suddenly have, for whatever reason, a group of creatures based off of little woodland animals. I could go and bring about, if I wanted to, different clashing cultures of Triton folk throughout the oceans, because that's what that Dominion is over there. But I digress. I'm getting off topic here. The big thing I wanted to do today was to go and create a map for a city up in the middle of my continent here in Torridell called Jewis Diggle. I know it's a silly name. It sounds goofy, but that is by design. Jewis Diggle is, in my world lore, supposed to be a resort town. It is kind of like a popular vacation spot for the people of this continent. And Laura Turin overall is very much, I guess you could say, like my place for like fantasy hippies. So you have a variety of halflings, gnomes who are very much one with nature, very big on peace, and I wanted to make them stand out, not just to be some simple airheads. So that's why I kind of went the vacation route. So this brings me to kind of step one in my process with making maps. You really kind of have to think about, okay, why you want to do it. In this case, it's, I wanted to know what this map looks like. I want to know what the city is like. Because my friends and my players are always asking me, about really, tell us about the silly halfling city that is a resort town because we want to go there someday. So I figured this way I can have something set aside for those future questions, and I can also just have something fun to show you guys in my first stream. So step one is the why. So in that case, if you look at that with my reasonings, is that I want to make this for fun. So in that case, this map should look fun, spontaneous, should look cool and interesting to the eyes. It shouldn't be like mysterious or well, that's what I'm thinking of, creepy. Okay, so good. Got the mindset. Step one. Step two is we need to look at the land itself because when it comes to making a proper map that feels alive, feels real, you need to consider how it developed. Meaning, like in our own real world, our cities don't just pop into existence. No, they're kind of like this. They are built over time to not just human efforts, but also by the land, by the weather. So let me go and clear off these labels here and these symbols. Oh, not too many symbols. I'll take the symbols off. Why not? Okay, so look at here. You can see right away that the continent itself does have its territories, defined. But the big thing I wanted to show was the water lines, the waterways. So not just the ocean, but the rivers. Now, this map is meant to be about the size and scale to about the size of North America. And so in that these rivers are not exactly to scale. They're, if anything, like the major rivers. So in my mind's eye, I see a lot of these rivers having a sprawling, not sprawling, a variety of tinier capillary-esque streams or rivers going into them. But so these are not the only rivers into my country, but I wanted to mention that these are the main ones, the biggest ones, because when it comes to settling in terms of like just basic city growth, if you are planning to make a map based on a major city, historically most of those cities had to be next to some form of major resource or be connected to a major form of travel. So in that case, at its simplest, or I should say easiest, that would mean, next to water, next to a stream. So that way, if the people who lived there wanted to go and expand out or go travel or trade to some other neighboring group or country, they could. Which is why I set up this particular city right here. Not sure how well you can see that. Actually, I'm going to check that real quick. If it is picking up my mouse. It doesn't appear so. Okay. So let's go and give me 1 second here. I'm going to see if I can make that. Let's see. Doesn't appear so. Okay. Well, that is fine. I'll just have to make sure I describe a bit better. So let me do this. Bring my little symbol tab. Should have figured. When I usually bring up my map to my new players to kind of direct them around the place, they too don't get to see where the hell I'm pointing at right off the bat. So what I usually do is this. There we go. So that little circle right there, yeah, that's being controlled by me now. So we're just gonna follow the circle. I'm gonna make sure I bring my monitor over here so I can ensure that I am being seen. There we are. Beauty. Okay. So follow the bouncing circle. There we go. Alright. So my city, to get back on track, of Geostigl is located right here. As you can see, it is located right next to a stream, not a stream, a river, and more importantly, a lake. So here we're going to hide the symbols again. So, which means when I make this map, I need to remember two things. One, I got a river on the side and a nice large lake next to it. So cool, great. So, which is why the end of like what to me is like step two, is that now you know really kind of the lay of the land of where it's going to be. You can use that to go and grow from there, because the water will help me define my initial uh, lines, my initial like borders on the map. So the other important detail I have it up here is that you can see there's also a lot of wooded forests and what have you around this neck of the world. Last but not least, while I still have this up, the weather conditions could also be considered into. Now, with fantasy worlds, you don't have to, yes, follow along with these rules or with these, how would one would say, thought processes, because, you know, magic can change things. Magic can make it so the weather isn't normal, where it can only snow in one part of your continent. Like maybe you want to have, sure, a Super Mario-esque, oh yeah, that one place over there, yeah, that is desert land. That's water world. Up there is Marshmallowville. I don't know. You do you. But for me, a lot of the weather patterns are much like our own real world, controlled kind of by the mountains, and as well as the rising of heat and luring cooler temperatures. So, in my mind's eye, the winds typically have always kind of flown from really this little kind of channel of area on the east side of this continent of Torridel, which is why you see a lot of the trees kind of on the eastern side. Meanwhile, the other side is kind of more of like a desert, tundra, or even kind of almost like Serbia-esque kind of, well, plains. It's living there is rough. At the same token, one of those other heat or weather currents also comes from the north. So, with making this area, we're looking at a weather climate that not only would have weather instead of water, because that's how we got the woods, but it also would lead to more proper seasons. They would have in this area, snow, rain, because though it doesn't seem like it sometimes, even up in Canada, they can get some nice warm weather, even before global warming made things a bit hot up there. Anywho, I digress. Let's get to the actual meat and potatoes of today. So let me go and make a new map. Now, when using this software, when I make a fresh, brand new map, I like a nice large canvas to work on. So I like to go with 1920 pixels with a height of 180 pixels. I also like to go with like the landscape route, which is basically instead of like a tall map, I go for a nice wide map. And that's because I'm a big proponent of making things easier for the human eye, which your eyes are, horizontal. I mean, vertical. Wait, they're horizontal, not vertical. So that allows me, when I write my maps, to, much like you read a book, make it easy to read from left to right. It makes it, allows your gaze to take it in that much easier. And last but not least, I usually go with the theme of imagination, because I have a lot of it. Alright, so let's bring this up. Okay, so in any basic starting map in WonderDraft, you're given straight up a blank slate. What you can see here is, well, just water. So that means it is time to have us go in and create the land. So to begin, we're going to go and make sure we have our little land tab up here. And I'm going to bring out and start, drawing in. Now, at this point, this is really like the easiest part, I would argue, with creating maps. Uh, because when with land, it's just that it's like a blank. It's like a blob. It's a I don't know. It's kind of boring in a way. It reminds me a lot of like rolling out pizza dough. You know, kind of fun, kind of squishy, but after a while it gets kind of like tedious. You just want to know, hey, when am I done? Well, if you recall, this city is sitting upon a lake next to a major river. So I know for sure I need to have the bottom side of the map to the left to have all of the water to it. Oh, I got here. Oh, hey, thanks. El, Elkasa. Okay, I'm sorry if I butchered that wrong. But hey, thank you for at least popping in. I'm not sure if you're still there because I have the YouTube your account blocked. Oh no, I have two concurrent viewers. Okay, cool, fun in a bun. I'm not just talking to myself. That's cool. That's great. I like that. Let me go and make this a bit easier to see you all. There you go. Okay. Well, where was I? Let's continue. So, I got like basically the kind of the starting border to my town here, right? On the lake side. Well, this is kind of a personal preference. Whenever I do anything with like a nice little river, not a river, a shoreline, I try my best to not just make it this smooth. To me, it feels too much like I'm back in grade school. It doesn't really allow for interesting shapes. It looks lazy to me. So, so I'll be changing this in a second, but I still want to make sure I get a nice shape, a nice curve. I actually might go and put this a little bit tighter to, there we go. That way it gives us more to work with later on. Because this isn't a major port town. They don't need to know that there's a lot of boats out in the lake. Maybe there are. Maybe they're like there's cute little canoes. Regardless, put it nice and tight. There we go. So there we are, nice little shoreline. But like I said earlier, let's go and pepper that up a little bit, right? Well, that's where we're going to use this tool over here that looks like a little mound with an arrow on it. This is what the software calls Raise Landmass tool. This is what I normally use to do my shorelines because you can change the roughness. Instead of having a nice little clear cut border, it gives you these little kind of fun shapes that kind of, yeah, there we go, kind of spice it up a little bit. There we are. Okay, so that's a little bit too rough. This is if I was like doing a continent, I'd be kind of fine having like all these nice little randomized possible capes or what have you. I'm instead, I want to make it a bit smoother. That's too much roughness. Let's bring that down. There we go. There we go. That's a bit better. There we are. Because if you think about it, in real life, the shorelines, though in our mind's eye when we see them, does look a nice like straight line, but because of weather and the different effects of nature, it does have kind of like a chaotic look to it. That's why I kind of go for here. So there we go. Then we have our beginning Earth or mass to it, or Earth mass, land mass. That's what I'm trying to think of. Let's see here. So next up, if we recall, there's also that river. Let's get that in next. So we nice have our boundaries set up, which is really when it comes to the process that I go through. So you have, the reasoning why you want to do it, the, location of where it's really going to be in the world. You got to make sure, and I guess the third step, to truly set your boundaries. You know not to go too far off. Because I've had a few cases where I've made a map next to a mountain and made this big sprawling city until I find out later on that I put it too close to the mountain range and it wouldn't work, which my players quickly pointed out and made me look embarrassed and stuff. So let's bring up the water. There we go. So each of these tabs have really kind of fun features that I'll try to point them out as we go along. But the one I'm looking for in particular is this little river tool. This sucker is a lot of fun because it automatically kind of creates the little natural waviness to the streams, which like much like the shoreline. Don't get out of this. I can go and rough up or change the amount the software randomizes the shore the river squiggliness. I think that's a technical term. Regardless, when it comes to, well, I had this up. The important thing you need to remember when it comes to waterways is that, because I've seen there's a few people who made new maps, that they go about making it kind of spiral out. Like they have like their lake bed here. That's what I was going to, for example, have this nice little line there. This is not going to be the I'm going to go with. Oh, lost it. There we go. That when I've seen some people do when they make rivers or streams is that they make it so that a bunch of like bits and pieces come off of it, like this. The thing is, in the real world, that doesn't happen, and it can make your maps look kind of uncanny to your players if you're not careful. See, most water streams or rivers, what have you, they typically come from the melting of snow off of our highest points on land. So you're thinking of like the mountaintops. And typically what happens is, they melt off the top of mountains. They start to form, streams going down, and they slowly converge into bigger and bigger and bigger rivers. Oh yeah. True. Today if I'm here, you popped in like, oh no, you're trying to push good content. Yeah, this is true. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to push good content and trying to give people some interesting things to see. Nothing else, maybe give a few laughs as the dorky Midwestern guy tries to make a map and show people how he does it. So, the riverbeds. So in this case, I brought this up because this being on the side of a lake, there wouldn't be too many various little rivers coming off of it that are converging back into one. No, water likes to flow down the path of like least resistance. So if I was going to have a major river come off of this or reverse, I mean, would you could technically do with lakes? Sorta. They would only spiral away with multiple exits if there was like, multiple easier, what's I'm looking at here? Easy ways off to like lower land. But in this case, there's only one major point for this neck of the woods. So we're going to get rid of this river here. Oh, come on. Yeah, there we go. Get rid of this. I don't need that. Let's shave that off. There we go. Don't need that up. There we are. Okay. So, with that long peel out of the way, let's go and get our river finally long last over here. So, okay. Don't like that. Alright, this time around, I'm just going to use what I guess you can consider to be like I've always kind of considered it more so like my major body water maker. I'm just going to make it myself. So I want it to look nice and big for the scale. So, in this case, there we go. Bend this, bend that, and there we are. That looks a bit like a colon, so let's clean that up a bit. Too simple. Let's change the roughness down. I get a little bit of roughness. And I know, yeah. Make sure you keep the sound effects in there because you gotta have sound effects. Alright, there we go. That's good enough for now because I want to get to the fun part. Okay, so I have my lake. I have my big old river off to the side. Let's go and give this, some greenery, some nice grass. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my land here, bar on the left, And underneath the paintbrush, this is where you get your nice little color the land options. Now the cool thing is, I learned about this later on, is the defaults do give you some decent greens and what have you to work with. It also allows you, it's really handy when making your world maps, to use the same feature to add in your different country lines, or different help mark your different territories, because I can use this to make reds, blues, blacks, browns, you name it. But regardless, I always try to recommend we do go and add color to the land to kind of simulate grass. One, don't make it perfect, because because natural reoccurring grass isn't exactly perfect. So you don't want to make it too nice, because in that case it would look almost uncanny with how perfect it is. So that's why kind of little splotches there. And number two, I like to try to keep a little bit of the shoreline clear. That so you have like kind of like the little beach effect. You kind of show that as you get closer to the river, that not much plant content tends to grow from the tides or just common foot traffic. So there we go. So you have kind of like now almost a more general look or vibe of what I'm going for here. Also, gotta admit, I love the paper look. It looks so nice and just pretty. Okay, I love this type of content. I currently work on that part of the city. Oh, really? That's cool. Urbanization map. So like a map. I'm gonna call you Gar. Like the Gar 3. Yeah, I like that. So Gar 3 is you making a urbanization map part of the city. Okay, so it's like a map that's like starting to kind of like build up its city, or like kind of like have more of a progression. Yeah. Yeah, I'll wait to wait for you to respond, because I'm not sure about what the delay is like. Let's see here. Okay, so now I have my little shoreline. It's not really perfect. A little grass there. Great. Let's start getting into the, to this, adding in some buildings and what have you. Now, in step 4 of what I usually do is, so now that I have the natural boundaries, now I know I have kind of a little feel of where the plant life is going to be. I don't start with the woods or forests for next, because typically a lot of the maps I make is of cities that have already built into some woods. They've built into some natural environment. So by this point, the people living here have already kind of shaped the land, to their purposes. So to go in and try to make a forest off the bat and then empty it out and put buildings in would kind of be, it would kind of make things way too difficult for me or for you. So I'm gonna go instead and focus on the major buildings, the major locations in your city. I'm talking about when your players come to this neck of the woods. What are the biggest things I want them to want to go see? If you want to think about it, it's like, you're looking at an amusement park map, like let's say Walt Disney World. I mean, what is like the biggest thing most people have their eyes drawn to? Well, if it's Walt Disney World, and let's say the Magic Kingdom, it is probably like, the goddamn Cinderella Castle. So, for Joe's Diggle, a resort town, what would be my Cinderella Castle? Well, in my world's lore, I've always kind of pictured it being, maybe various really nice hotels, spas. More specifically for this area, I wanted it to be, a hot spring. So let's go take a look at my symbols here, which there are many. And the cool thing about Wonderdraft is that you can go and download custom symbols to, what's what I'm thinking of? Add symbols to your collection, so you're not limited to just what they have in the software, which is great. No, you're good. Gar 3, buddy, I'm live streaming for a reason, so if you have any questions or what have you, speak up. I mean, I'd want to do this to have a conversation. So that's the nature of this kind of entertainment. Um, so let's look at these buildings here. I have a lot. Now, if you recall, I said I wanted this to be earlier on in the stream here. I wanted this to be a more of a druidic town. So in that case, I'm looking for buildings that fit into what's the word I'm thinking of? That show buildings that kind of like live with nature, that are kind of combined and around it. Yeah. Well, hey people. Most of these symbols are Marcel. Hey Sage. I did download a few map packs. Let's see here. Like I had one for. Let's see. Like I have one for just pirate locations, so it wants to be a bit more nautical. I have a set for I think I want to say for wicked buildings. So if I wanted to have like a large ass skull, I could do that, but that's not very druidy. Let's see here. I also do have stuff for like elves, dwarves, what have you. I did also get some custom ones, which I do use quite often for one of my games that's more Asian and African inspired. So that's how I got some of these symbols. Where are they? I should probably learn which set goes to what, but I like to have them all at once. So that's how I got some cool like huts. Get in there. There you go. Or where is it's a bit more like what's I'm thinking of? Look at nice kind of like flair of like from over in the Japan and China and Korea areas, because I wanted to kind of fit that aesthetic, but also not trying to too much recreate it. But I digress. With this being this part of the world of my map, it's that being more, like I said, druidic. Pardon me if I think aloud too much. Then I want to find some buildings that have more trees and stuff like that. So let's go to these. I don't really need these just yet. There we go. So let's get back to the list and find a nice large building that looks a bit homey. I might have to improvise, but that's fine. When it comes to making maps, if you put something in that looks like, it might say on paper like that, oh, this is a an elf tower. Well, it's your world, you're the DM. You'd be like, how about no? In this case, it's a hobbit tower, and you will like it. Or you want? I don't know. You do you. I do want to point out that you also can create your own icons you want as well. Like I made this one tree one because I wanted to have a city that had a very large tree sticking out of it. So yeah, the software is very nice and versatile. I like it for that. What are we creating today? I am creating a little kind of like halfling gnome hamlet, or almost like a resort town over in the country that your game actually doesn't take place on. By the way, Sagefire is one of my players, so thanks for joining in, Sage. But this town is known for its hot springs, which the cool thing about those could be connected to streams nearby. So, but however, it's not limited to being next to my two water locations. That's why I'm not trying to go find somebody that has like what's the phrase? Like a bathhouse clearly in back, because historically a lot of the bathhouses around the world are formed from water that kind of comes up through fissures in the ground from around volcanic activity. For instance, over in England, in the city called Bath, as in yes, BATH, where they have Roman baths. You know, they're like about pretty. They're kind of removed away from the water lines, and you just find this random, big old almost Coliseum looking building in the middle of the city. Go in, and there's these wonderfully warm and toasty pools. That is that the Romans used to go and bathe in, basically surrounded like a pool. It's kind of cool. So let's see here. What kind of aesthetic I like. Now, in my mind's eye, I probably will do a blend of different places. So, you know what? I am going to be using a little bit of my elven buildings here, because they have that nice kind of foresty feel to them, and I don't use them enough. So let's see. There we go. So let's go and pick a nice spot for like our main hot spring in the city. Because as I see it, if this is going to be like a major resort town, so the place clearly will have some good money. Probably not like Las Vegas style money, but enough money to go and really spice it up to encourage guests. So let's go and put this one a little bit right here on the upper right side of the map. Because then that way, if you're looking at this place for the first time, most of my players are from America, so they'll be looking from like left to right. They'll go from left to right and see the very top right hand of the map. Oh, look at that large building over there. Hey, DM. Yes? What is that? Well, that is the biggest hot spring in the area. As you can see, it was really made popular by elves, hence why the local populace made it look more to their aesthetic. See how I did there? Made a building that should be just strictly elven, now completely workable for a bunch of little halflings and gnomes. So, there we go. There's building number one. Now, if that is like, one of the major draws or attractions in the city, naturally there's either going to be competitors or people looking to buy off it or buy into that. So let's look back at our elven locations here and see what I can play with. Let's see. Okay, that's a crazy portal. Probably won't do that. Do we? Okay, that's a little house. Maybe use that for later. Oh, fun. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm kind of like a little bit legendary when it comes to my map makings for some of my players, because this is actually one of the first sessions I ran for Sage. I was running behind that day, and they were going to go to a major city for their world lore, or their story, and I had nothing set aside. So I basically sat down at this computer, brought up Wonderdraft, started blasting death metal while chugging copious amounts of coffee, and I went and made a detailed map within an hour before session. It felt good. I felt powerful. But okay, so I'm tempted to make another Hot Springs location, but I don't want to make too many, because I think I don't want to dilute the location, because in that case I run into the situation where my players want to go try out different hot springs. I then have to go and make sure I have different backgrounds and characters for each place. So instead, let's go and make like a marketplace, because anyone coming to go get a nice warm toasty bath, they are going to want a place to go, and waste all their cash. So let's use this little building over here, because you can see it has a nice little set of little vendors inside, or no vendors, little kiosks, stalls, vendor stalls. So okay, so let's go, and I'm gonna have it be like right off the main path here. So let's have like a little beginning of a grand market located right over here. So it's not too far away, where if someone's walking from the hot spring over to here, that they would take forever to get there. but it is not too close where I can't go and add other moochers to this grand market, which I will definitely be doing in a heartbeat as soon as I get more into this design. So okay, so I got, you know, two major locations. Let's pick one more. Okay, I know. If this is a druid city, I should have a place where, you know, druids actually do their thing, which basically means in my mind's eye, like, yeah, there they go and like practice their craft. Like, yes, this upper right hand corner is where they go and like bring in money to the city, but they still have to go have a place to learn to grow. So, which is a good thing to bring up. So for point four or step four, kind of going to coincide with your major locations, is also to think, you know, how does this your cities or your maps provide for its populace? So you got the economy down. You have the Tifa. You want to come say hi? Come here, Tifa. Oh no, you don't. Come here. You're cute and adorable, and you need to say hi to people. So say hi to Tifa. This is our corgi. She's a little stinker, and I love her even though she gives me all kinds of hell. Mwah! She, though, doesn't know how to make maps, and that's okay, because she is really good at making snuggles and poops, thankfully, outside. So, mwah! Thank you for visiting, Tifa. You cute little corgi. Look at those ears. Those are the kind of ears that can pick up signals from Russia. All right. Go say hi to Mom. Go on. There you are. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Also, I think I need to work on my legend for next time, but that's all right. That's all right. So, as I was saying, so I have clearly, you know, the start of where my commerce comes in. I'm working in education. This I could see being more simple, more not so grand or over the top. So let's go look at the tents here, because druids typically don't make too much like solid structures. How they kind of like live with the land. So I love the idea that they don't have like a major building complex. They have most likely, you know, just either slept underneath the trees or quite possibly just propped up tents or little tiny straw huts. Or even, hell, who knows, maybe just dug a hole in the ground, go and make little foxholes. Actually, you know what? I like that. We'll say, I mean, kind of take a little play off the Hobbit classic style that they actually, yeah, they take after the foxes or the kind of like more subterranean creatures in the area. Maybe they even have like more kind of like cool little badger hats, or honestly, they probably wouldn't do like, you know, skin the animals. Probably maybe dye their hair. Which brings me to kind of the step 5, which much like the prior 2 steps, kind of all kind of blend together. Is as you're making your map, let your imagination be your guide. Let it kind of grow and help breathe the life as you make your choices. So, if we're gonna have the druids kind of live almost a little bit underground to learn from the moles, the gophers, let's give ourselves a hill or 2. Let's see, I want a hill that actually matches the color of my map, so... Oh, come on. Oh, the nice thing I should bring up is that the symbols on here, while the sliders, when I first place them, do appear to have a limit, you can override that to make them bigger if you want. So, I'm going to go and let's make this 50. Oh, that's too big. Let's bring that down there, shall we? Let's make it a little bit smaller. Agreed. Also, Marcel, love that name. Don't see too many of used around. See a lot of maize. See a lot of flints. type in Google search, billions, and a dime a dozen. Let's bring this down a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Still a little bit pixelated, but that's fine. I can easily cover that with more details around it to kind of make it blend in a bit more. Not seamlessly? Yeah, I'm going with seamless. That's the right word. At least I hope it is. Okay, let me do one thing here, folks. Occurred to me, I forgot to do my tags. So, well, before I go any further along, does anyone out there have any questions, any concerns, religious objections, funny jokes? Actually, no, I have a funny joke while you're thinking out there. This one comes courtesy of my lovely fiance. But, what did the dinosaur dress up as for Halloween? There we go. Good enough. Alright, good. That money, that. Oh, that's nothing wrong with that, buddy. I mean, if it helps you, when it came to me just, going with Flint, I got it from a pirate name generator. Yeah. Yeah, that's very original. So, all right. So, let's get back to our little Druid hamlet. This place is probably... So the Druid training grounds is probably not right next to their point of commerce because that would make things kind of distracting. And if it's going to be underground, probably not too close to the water, otherwise we might have some flooding problems. So let's push it like a little bit down here. There we go. Have that be the start of what comes next. So let's see. Oh, fun, Garthry. I never got to be, I think the closest I ever got to being to Eastern Europe was probably when I went to go visit Luxembourg, or actually, no, when I had like a layover in the Netherlands. But that's more like, way too north. But now it's 1 a.m. Well, I hope I'm not keeping you up too much. I hope you at least, enjoying your late night stream. So, okay. So I mentioned earlier this little hut is... Oh, really? How about that? Well, I must say there, Marcel, that you guys have a fun-ass airport. Like, I didn't get to actually leave to go visit the city, but I did actually do pretty damn well when I was casinos in there and made off with some decent amount of chocolate because I am a sucker for sweets. Good night, buddy. I'll be posting this on my channel to see one of you the rest. Go check it out there. If not, take care. Okay. All right, so let's go and give it a little bit of hut. Okay, a little strong. Come on, I have probably more of a tenty looking place. Do I have a tent somewhere? There. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the rest of that bad joke was it was a pterodactyl. Yeah, pterodactyl. That's what the dinosaur dressed up as for Halloween. But okay, that's about as close as I can get to an actual tent. Well, let's go with this one. There you go. Actually, I like that a bit better than I originally had. See what I mean? Though, you probably noticed that that tent came from a set meant for more like cities to magic culture out in Africa, or like more like the Middle East. So more desert terrain, but I can easily repurpose it to fit my storytelling needs of a little turning hamlet. Now, if I wanted to, I could probably add a lot of different buildings because I imagine the little training grounds has more than 3 tents. But with maps, I don't try to make it too exact. So that way, if my players are going around traveling and they go to this place and I'm not limited to just those 3, I can then easily say, yes, there's like 25 there. Like, it's more symbolic. Because of for sure, man, for sure. Like, okay, so the delay for me is about 2 minutes. Okay, probably more, about 3. So good to know. I really need so much today. Okay, so right, so we have our commerce. Kind of started our little education spot, which means to me, last but not least, I have to figure out some form of a ruling body. Like, where do the people who run the city make the calls? The government. Where's the government located, basically? Because even if if it's like more of a nomadic to more of a set in stone location, there's always someone in charge, or at least some natural hub people come to go and handle kinds of that fun little administration stuff. It also gives my players a spot to go to when they need to go and talk to the people in charge, if need be, or to even go and accept a quest or what have you. So I might go back to the Elven style because they probably would like to make it welcoming to visitors and also to match the aesthetic of some of their major locations in town. There we go. So let's see what this would look like. There we go. That's not too crazy. And this one, we're going to have it be right next to the water line. Because if you recall earlier, when I was describing when choosing the location for your maps, or say your cities, you wanted to be next to either major locations of to allow for mass transit. So, with the city being set right next to the water, it stands to reason that the city center would have started right next to the water, kind of spiraled out from there. And in most major cities, let's say like in London, Parliament is right next to the Thames. So in turn, I'm going to put my major administration building, or I guess almost tower, because I don't want it to be too big here. I don't want it to be too big on government or a ruling class. But I want it to look, important enough that it is a bit more prestigious. So I kind of like that look of it. And the idea that the hill kind of overlooks the riverbed. Speaking of which, if there is going to be a little bit of a hill, let's put that maybe a bit more closer to the shoreline, because then that way I can then later on build a bit more of like hills across the map to simulate the fact that the city is kind of a hilly location that kind of rolls downhill from south to north. But that way I can explain why I can kind of fill in the gaps in between my administration building and the Druid, I'm going to call it the training grounds. I put more hills in there. See, this is also why I think it's important to get your major landmarks first, because then you can go and decide other things to fill in the gaps. So, right. Now for the very last thing, which would be, so you got, administration, your commerce, and your education. Now the last thing you need to work out is, where do people stay? Now, I could take the cop out and suggest that the hot springs is the hotel to stay at, but most players I find like to have the classic tavern or inn to stay in. So let's go find out where that said inn is. So there we go. Let's get back to our big collection of buildings, and let's set up our cozy. There we go. I love that. There we go. That's perfect. So if this is a tavern, it's probably going to be, I would say, more so in the center of the city, because we plan to be eventually filling in where the houses are where people do live. Could fill in, maybe a few farms, stuff like that. And while the original city center is the administration building, the main hub of the city is probably where people go relax at the end of the day. People aren't going to relax in the offices of the DMV. Now they're going to go and find a place where they can go sit back, relax, and hear a tale or two while maybe enjoying a little bit of the bubbly. So I'm going to put my little tavern right here in the middle. Boom. I'm gonna stop there in terms of number of major locations, because when I world build, one of my cardinal laws or rules is that you do things. You follow the rule of odds, is what I would like to call it. Essentially, for whatever reason, maybe there's someone smarter out there who can explain this to me, but from my experience, most people have an easier time remembering locations, places, items when they come in odds. So if you think about it, you need to, let's say, for the months of the year, which is 12, you need to, save them in order to remember them. But like the days of the week, you can go and easily save those out of order. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday. Whereas you can try to do the months out of the year, you could have some problems. So to follow my rule of the odds, having 5 locations keeps it easy to remember in little mind games in the head. Not mind games. What's what I'm thinking of? It helps make it sink in easier to recall a bit better, because you don't have to remember 5 major spots. But more importantly, it keeps you from having too many major locations in your city. Because if you have too much, it just kind of becomes white noise, and your players often have to ask you hey, what's the name of the place again? Oh yeah, that. It's kind of why a lot of major theme parks you look at, in my opinion, have only 5 to 7 major lands or spots. But I digress. So there we go. We have hot springs up the right with a major market next to it. Got a little tavern in the middle. Big old office building on the far left, and our little tiny training grounds. So now comes the hard part, I would say, which is filling in the rest. This is where you need to go and start to work out as a map maker where people tend to set up their homes, because that's typically where a lot of the fill-in is going to be. Looking at this, I probably would be putting most of the homes up in the spot up here, because then that way, much like any major city, a lot of those homes could then kind of slowly disperse and scatter about into the outskirts outside of town. And that way I don't have to worry too much, because when it comes to visiting homes in any city, it becomes kind of white noise to players. They don't really need to know how far out your city spirals. So here, let's do this to kind of show you what I mean. Yes, exactly, Marcel. You can easily forget all the major locations if you said too much in your town. Speaking of which, limiting to how many major spots you have in a city allows you to kind of spread out to other major towns. Like you give your players reasons to come back here. Like if this is the one of the few major towns in this area that only has a hot spring, well, that gives a reason for your players to come back here. Next country over could have like a major wizarding capital. It makes it distinctly different, and the players will have a reason to go there for magical stuff. So yeah, it kind of forces you to truly specialize and not overly. What's the word I'm thinking of? It'll come to me. It'll come to me later. But I'm rambling too much, and we need to get this thing filled out because I have at least 42 minutes left to this stream. So let's go here and pick out house style. Now, in this next part for the filling out, choosing the residential places, I like to choose an icon that either does one or two things. Either one, and yes, exactly, it makes the cities less samey, but I would choose like the other houses that are just to me not meant to be important. That yeah, I'd like to either choose an icon that is distinctly visually different, or it is a different color. So that way allows your major locations to stand out that much more against the more just background noise. So let's see. If green is one of like one of my main colors here, I want to find a color that's more complementary to it. So with that, I'm probably looking at probably blues, yellows, maybe even maybe orange. I don't know. Well, orange would probably be more so for the training side of things. So let's go with blue, and I'm going to be using some more of these homes that look like they came straight out of Germany, or I should say like a fairy tale. That kind of classic wooden bordered with a little bit of plaster in between homes. And that's only because that in the neighboring country in my world to this one is more English in culture, so that I could easily see them over time coming to immigrate up here and kind of like a little bit of blending of architectural styles. Speaking of which, when it comes to architecture in itself, any kind of like cultural designs, a good thing to keep in mind if you're worried about your players getting confused or like, oh no, I can't use that style because that's a style I set aside for just this one race of people. Well, the thing is, throughout world history, there really was never truly a style that stayed entirely to one place. For instance, you've probably seen before the classic conquistador little metal helmet for like El Dorado. We're talking like the one with the large build, kind of 2 points. Well, that's become almost synonymous with the design of like gold-seeking Spanish explorers. Well, what if I told you that design originated from England? Because that's the thing. Like the armor styles, architecture. I mean, the countries weren't dumb. If something worked better, if it was more popular, everyone adopted it. So in your world, same thing. So if you want to throw in some buildings that don't match the initial like vibes, that's fine, because there are probably some cultural bleed. It happens. So moving on. So let's begin building some homes over here. The cool thing about Wonder Draft is that with a click of a button, I can easily randomize which direction the house is facing. So I'm going to put them a little bit sporadically out. And as I go along, I try to think about, okay, where are the like roads going to be? Like where would be like the major like street blocks, so to speak. So let's put a few homes over here, and because this is more wooden, I don't see it being too developed. Let's put a few over there. Okay, let's choose a different icon to make it not so copy paste. Where'd my let's go. Here we go. Let's put a few of these guys. There we go. Yeah. Boop doop doo. let's put a few down here. Because this is more administration, I'll probably put some bigger buildings. Okay. These probably should be a bit bigger considering their size to diminish the other stuff. That, or I should shrink down the administration building so it's not like dwarfing everything else. There we are. And you know, if you go when you make your map, if you do make it so not everything is entirely to scale, don't beat yourself up too much. You are human, and frankly, real map makers do that all the time. They go and they make certain things well bigger, well smaller, just to make everything kind of fit. Like a world map. Some maps I grew up with had Alaska being the size of, well, Russia. No, or was it the other way around? Like Texas the size of Alaska, which was like comparing, well, this D20 to my D60. Also, I just, because I am a klutz, I just managed to drop my dice bag into my drink. Fun. Okay, get out of the way. All right, back to the buildings. So, a little bit of a district up here, a little bit of district down there. Let's go and put a bit more. I know this looks pretty barren right now, but this will really come together once I start getting the trees in and more in galore. Let's add a little bit of competing vendors to the tavern I set up. And you probably noticed one of my favorite features of Wonder Draft is that it automatically goes and hides things behind your symbols automatically for you. And if I wanted to, I could go and adjust it by hand myself, but which I might have to at some point. But I always like that. It just allows you to have a little bit more of depth to your city. Okay. Kind of like how this is going. My imagination wants to go and build up the market district a little bit. So let's go and add a few more stalls outside. Speaking of which, there are most likely some stalls outside of the spring, so let's put a few there. Alright, put in some orange as well, because those really stand out. It really is, especially when it comes to trees. So let's put a little bit. That's too big. I'm not like with that. Let's move this back to like maybe a bit there. There we go. Yeah, I've already kind of seen like a little bit of a street coming down and up to over here. To give you a visual of what I'm seeing, what I do is I go in and actually erase the grass, so to speak. The grass coloring I did to showcase where my streets are, because I don't see this place actually making paved roads. They most likely have like dirt gravel paths. So there we go. Let's go and like already get my path down to the tavern and bring that in over there. There we go. Boom! Started one of my roads. And let's go while we're at it and bring in more roads to my other locations here. And let's do that. There we go. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. I really like when it comes to my design, like my road paths. I love the curved look. It looks, frankly, real damn interesting. It kind of makes it more just, I don't know, more swoopy. I know it's not a really great way to describe it. But I've never been against actually making like the grid lines you might see in like major American cities, because usually you see kind of like more grid lined stuff in locations where they had like massive growth at once. Whereas in a city like this is probably a trail that was formed over and over again over time. Speaking of which, now I have kind of like, you know, like the central streets. Let's go and add in most likely the shortcuts people take in the city to get from point A to point B. So, for instance, like this little hamlet, this little collection up here of these homes, most likely don't go about walking all the way down to the center spot, then all the way over to the springs. No, they probably over time have cut across the backside and made their way to possibly work that way. Same thing over here. I could easily see them doing that over here as well. And the cool thing is, once you get these locations out, you start kind of like connecting the dots and kind of thinking using your imagination of where people walk every day. You can then start to see, okay, where your other possible districts where you need to kind of fill in those homes. So I'll probably do that. There we are. There we go. And one last one over here. Okay, and last but not least, what I probably should have is some major streets out of the city itself, because this place is connected to other countries. I'm going to go bring that over here. There we are. And let's go and actually put... There we go. A street over there. So I'll put a bridge on this side to eventually show, you know, them being able to walk across the river, because they most likely have that. In fact, I'll probably put two. So let's go and do that over there as well. Okay. All right. So let's get back to filling in. Now they have a more of a clear idea of where some of my roads are. And I was going to bring up that if you're ever worried about your streets looking messy or sloppy, frankly, don't. Marcel here probably could vouch for me, but as well as anyone who probably looked at a map. But anything that there are cities out there where the map design, or I guess the road layout, looks very much like a directional map of someone's brain with all the veins sprout this way and that. It looks kind of chaotic. So this could be very much true to form. So let's see. Let's get back to putting stuff in. I'll get that out of there. All right. So now that I have my street lines, I could then go back to my market there and have a better idea of where more of those kiosks could be, because they can line them next to the streets, because naturally there are people over there trying their damnedest to get tourist money as they walk in to the hot springs themselves. Let's see. I want to grab... Okay. Yeah, thank you, Marcel. Yeah. For those who can't read it, he said, our old cities have grown organically, and that's not grid-based, but indeed curvy like this. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate the support there. All right, so let's go and get a bridge over here. Yeah, that's way too big. That looks kind of funky. Nope. Come back. I want to put my bridge in. let's worry about this later because I don't want to spend too much time. I think I made my rivers too big. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Oh, my rivers. Let's just go and start fresh. There we are. That's a bit more manageable. Okay. Come on. Load it up. There you go. There you go. That looks a bit more natural. Okay. Thank you for your patience there. I wanted to make sure my bridges didn't look too out of sorts. And let's go and fix that road right there. And shaboop, there we go. Look at that. Look, that looks nice. So far, I like that. I like that. Okay. So, okay. Back to finding those kiosks. I swear I will get those in. Because we do need to get more shops over there. Because I like to have. Yeah, I won't lie. I like having a little market or vendors available because it makes it so much easier to have like traveling salesmen or merchants that can help supply almost anything my players need or look for. Granted, I still make sure that the dice rolls support it, but it's nice just to know that I don't have to like build something out of the blue. It's like a good catch-all be-all to instant item creation. And I love the orange on blue and green because it helps it really kind of stand out. There we go. I don't want to be too many, but that looks cute enough. Okay. Maybe a little bit more over there. I don't want to be. Let's put in one of you. And a few more of you. Like I said, I'm done. Then proceed to go in and like add a whole bunch more. That's okay. There we go. If you want practice for making maps, I would highly recommend just going to play Sims. Or The Sim City, I should say. That's kind of how I got my start. Okay. So that looks kind of good over there. Let's swing back down to our training grounds and give them a bit more color and life. I don't want to do too much more, because soon to get to the real fun part of putting up my trees everywhere. Trees, rocks, that kind of fill in, which will really bring this place to the completion. Where are you? Why do you hide from Jim? Okay, here we are. There we go. Put a little home over there. Maybe a nice few little tents. There we go. That's kind of cute. And yes, I use cute because, you know, God's gonna like cute things. Yeah. Well, that and you gotta think, when you make your maps, I swear you have to think like everyone in your group. Group being your party, because, or your players, because some of them want some badass maps, some of them want cute maps. So in turn, you need to think like all of that. At once. So there we go. I got this little spot over there. You know what? I don't think I'll make it a major location, but I think I'll at least add in kind of a warehouse kind of vibe district, just to kind of make the shoreline a bit more lively, because it's kind of empty right now. You know what? Better idea? Do I have a decent place for like a hotel? Yeah. There we go. Little a lakeside vacay spot. Okay, so it does increase my thing up to 6. Alright, I'm going to do this then. So a quick thing I can show you with this right now is that Wonder Draft actually allows you to have the option to color your own icons too. So if I'm going to follow my color scheme here, I can go and... No, come on. Let me choose the color, please. Alright, let me choose color. Okay, fine. I'll just make it as close as I can to blue. Shouldn't actually being so difficult. Let's go with... There you go. And now please leave the trees green. There you go. Cool. And perfect. There we are. Don't even make a major location. But I can still have a big old place set up on the side. There we go. And who knows, it might become a major one later on. But it doesn't have to be for the sake of our project today. So let's make that not so obnoxiously big. Okay, that's way bigger than I wanted it. Let's just go and start from scratch. Shoo. So I'll maybe just put that like right there. There we are. Okay. And now that I actually have this set aside palette, I can maybe go add in a few more of these locations to really add to the decor in some spots. So maybe even give like the shopping district some more buildings that kind of like fit the vibe. The entire time I'm making use of... Oh, look at that, folks. We even have like a bridge I can go and fit the aesthetic of our admin building. I like that. Cool. Cool. All right. So let's see. I think in the future I might be making these kind of videos with, I should say these streams not be so long, because I don't want to bore people, and I can feel myself losing some steam, but that's fine, that's fine. Yeah, I was thinking just about that too. So let's see what we can do for some kind of form of fishing. And let's go and have a little bit of a fishery down there. You know what? I'm still keeping to my color coded design, where these homes don't they don't share the same as the major green hubs. Helps it stand out to the natural eye. Actually, this is where I'm really glad I have my pirate item sets, because then I can go and do cute little boats. And let's get a dock over there. If I wanted to even put a little Pirate flag. Yar. But, nah. There we go. There's my docks. The little homes that give off that kind of more fishery vibe. And yes, Sage, yes, I don't want a mega castle. Though that does sound like a fun city, just like a city that is straight up just one giant castle. Actually, it's kind of cool. I might remember that. Like, it is just because giants, they exist in fantasy realms. Well, why don't they have like their own king that has one home that takes up the entire size of the same like area as a city? I'll have to remember that for later. It's kind of fun. Okay. I love this. I love the idea of that there's this like little other like seaside resort over here, because I could easily add to the culture of this area that this is currently owned by some really uppity, wealthy elven lords who are trying to buy into the city. So this little wonderful spot to bring in tourism, but it isn't becoming the main draw. Like, if anything, it could be a rival to our hot spring over there. And so they maybe even bought up the fishing hamlet on the side to make up for losses. See, this is why I love map making. You find out more about a city than you initially ever planned. It's straight up like it's almost like you're discovering the city for the first time as well. It's fun. I like this. This is fun. Okay. All right. So I got a few more business-esque buildings. Let's get back to putting more homes. Where are you? Oh, here we go. Use more of these guys. So let's have more of another little city area here. I don't want to have too many because this is supposed to be not too populated. No, that's too different to the other ones. All right. The fun thing is, once you get really good at making your own maps, is that you can go and actually edit the maps for any kind of like major modules. Like for my Curse of Strahd map, I actually added in a few cities that weren't originally there. There's ever so slightly, you wouldn't really notice them at first glance unless I pointed them out. But yeah, I was awfully proud of that. Okay, here we go. All right. Let's give them a blacksmith because I can imagine they want to be able to fix stuff. So let's put that right over here. What is this? Oh, that is a tavern. Okay, so I'll put that there as well. Y'all kind of hoping you can see how this is kind of coming to life now. What is this? That is a gate. We don't need gates here. This isn't a gated community. However, one thing you should also consider is, even if it is a peaceful hamlet, there are most likely, defenses in play. Like, how do they protect themselves? So I'm going to put in a few towers to say that's how they keep watch in the area. Kind of spread a few out throughout town. There we are. And so this is kind of how it goes. You just go through and fill in spots around the map, and I just try to go with my gut instincts. Like, I try to see if is there any place on here that feels kind of empty and needs a few more things here and there. And that's usually I try to go and add stuff. One thing you can do to really help fill in some spots to explain why certain paths are there is you can add in rocks or like major land masses to kind of explain some things. Speaking of which, I said that I was going to put in a few more hills, so let's go and do that. So I'll put maybe one right there, one right there, and maybe one right here. Now this pirate talk I got from earlier is making me really want to go and make a pirate map later. One cool thing I like about this little tab is that you really can't see it too well with the hills, but each of these symbols over here actually come with different designs. So let's say for a reason I want to put it in a mountain range, the software automatically changes the symbols for you at random. So you have that nice kind of like natural randomizer to really make it look nice and nice. It's a good software. Great software. But I want a few more hills in there. So I'll go and resize these a bit later. And let's put them right up there. There we go. Okay. Override. 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 And you know what? I want one in the top corner there. Maybe here? Let's see. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Okay. I think we do the point we should probably start getting some trees in. So let's do that. So let's make sure they're a nice size. They don't overcome the other homes. And let's have it. Whee! Not too close to the water. Some furs. There we go. And yes, I know I'm missing some spots here and there, but that's intentional. You'll see why in a second. Oh shit. Heck. I went too far down there and I didn't realize how long I held down the trees. Now, a big advice when it comes to, like, you know, putting things that are kind of random is try to go with an outline first in an area and then come back and fill it in. Okay, let's put a little bit there. Alright, I'm going to go over again now with a different tree, because forests typically have more than one tree, or one kind of tree. So I'm going to take this time to actually save this map, because I don't think I've done it yet. Don't remember where I got the name Jewish Diggle. But I have it now, so anyhow, let's go and create. Oh, looks like nice. There we go. Starting to fill in. My nice little wooded area. Try not to cover my hills too much, so you can still see them. And I'm trying to kind of make it so that there's a higher density of these trees in certain areas compared to the firs I just put down. Because it wouldn't be an even spread throughout the entire city. See how nice that look adds a bit more like texture to it, adds a bit of color and variety. I like that one. There we go. Put it over here. Oh, into the river. Try it again. There we go. Put there we are. Okay, this thing look a little bit too much, but I'll go back in a second and take some out. Let's see, how do these look? No, it's too dark. How do these look? Those are really tiny. You can barely even see those. You know what? I kind of like that, yeah, because not all the trees are the same height. Let's put those in. Go. Get a nice batch in there because I'm probably be taking away some of these. Probably a lot of these in some spots to make it a bit easier to see the buildings around them. There we go. Okay, so now I got all of that kind of a bit crazy. Let's go and clean up a little bit. Oh. All right, so let's clear up this hill a little bit. There we go, like that. Okay. Clean that up a little bit. There we are. I got too close to some places. Oh, lost my spring. I lost my mountain there. Or hill. There you go. Granted, if this was like real life, some of these tree lines probably would still be like that close to some of these locations, but in a map you want to make it so that your players can still make out the shapes. You want to be too noisy. So there we go, kind of line it up a little bit. There we are. Oh, too much. I'll have to probably do that by hand in a second. There we are. Let's get that back. There we go. And a little bit of room around the bridge. Too much. I think we put more of a city in there because I feel like there needs to be more. There we go. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking right now here, folks. I crowd this little kind of space in the middle of the city there because it makes sense to me because it almost gives like a natural divide between where the major city kind of grew and left a lot of the trees and the natural kind of vibe on the east side of the map alone to allow for more, to kind of create the illusion that the tourists are in a nice kind of like almost picturesque part of the world. It's kind of like if you ever looked at a map of Cairo, how the area around the pyramids are like all straight up desert, but like literally right across the street is a golf course. So I guess the center of my map has the more rustic wooded land area, with everything to the west being major city and homes. And I realize I am going over my original time, but that's fine. I'm getting close to getting done with this, and I had a little bit of a late start anyway. So let's go and wrap this puppy up as fast as we can. So let's put a few more homes in. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. Fill out that middle area that I mentioned is kind of more of like dwelling. Go. A little bit bigger. There we are. Oh, that's nice. It's really nice. Maybe put a few more of these like under construction homes because maybe they are busy expanding. Let's put this little building right there. There we go. I like that. It's really coming together. Once again, if you have any questions, by all means, speak up. If not, cool. Hope you're enjoying the experience thus far. I would say yes. Like, if it depends on what part of the world I am making. Like, if I know I want to go and make, let's say, a country or a city that's more. I guess it depends on what my main desire is to do. Like, is it like in this case where I wanted to make a map of a city I've already built in my head, or did I want to go and make a map first and then add a story to it? Because whenever I DM or create stuff for my world, I go from the inside out. Like, I don't go and let my map desires entirely control my story, as well as I let my story entirely control my map ideas. Like, when I was creating my world map, I found myself having to make deserts and more kind of like swampy, more rainforesty locations that I didn't even think of, which forced me to go and like, oh, those would exist. What kind of people would exist there? That's how I got some of my stories ideas. That's kind of like actually I got this one initially. Like, I know I wanted this little wooden area to the north of this continent we're on right now. And I thought, okay, no, what kind of people would live there? Well, maybe it's a resort area. Like, not every place is out for war. And that's how I got this location. Other times you go like, oh man, I know I need to have a major wizarding capital where anyone who is studying magic goes to get their art. Well, I need to build it, and then I need to find a place for it to fit in the world. Hope that answers your question. I got a little bit of rambly at the end there. A bit more buildings in there. I don't want to make it. I do want to fill this in with a lot of homes, but I don't want to make it too busy. Because it's supposed to be more of like a quiet hamlet. So that's kind of nice. Okay, good. Glad to hear it. So let's get these cleaned up. So I want to see my hills. I'll leave that lone tree there because I like the look of that. I am going to go and help make this not look so plain, but by adding in some little grass texture in there. I need to go and create, I realize now, a path leading down to our little fishing hamlet down here. actually looking really nice. Okay. One thing you can really do to add in to kind of add to create more like life to a city you're making would be to add in little plots of farmland. Like, because even in a city that's clearly in like the middle of a major forest, would still have the occasional garden. Granted, I can imagine they get a lot of their food imported just to help with the grand old hot springs on the top right. There we are. Alright, I think I'm going to put a few more buildings into kind of like this little spot right to the west of my marketplace, because while I have the major hotel on the lakefront, I don't have too many hotels or taverns in that middle area right there. So it's a good place to go and spice it up more. As for my little training grounds, I love that. It looks perfect. I'm going to leave it pretty much almost just like that. Might add take it back. Might add a little bit of grass in there too. But that spot is looking good. Oh, here we go. I did say there should be rocks here and there that kind of help determine where some paths were formed. So let's add those in real quick while I see them, and before I forget again. Because them rocks, they be everywhere. I like that there now. Let's put this one here. I don't want to put too many. Let's do a different rock texture. But I don't want to put too many rocks because it's supposed to be more hilly and woody. What kind of rock is this? Let's put one more. Oh, right there. That looks good. Okay, now back to finding my buildings again. And you're welcome, Marcel. Here we go. Put a little more buildings over there. Maybe put a house right there. There we go. Hope you you're all getting to see what I mean when putting it in like these. Is that okay? Good. All right. Help flesh it out. Okay. There we are. I think I am just about done. Let's go put in a few more finishing touches. Like I mentioned how I wanted some more kind of a grass vibe for over here. There we go. Put that here in a few spots. Probably should have a few more trees right there. I'll make them the right size. There we go. Let's put a few over here to kind of fill in those spots of why there's not too many houses. And some of the firs to have some tree variety. like that. See, there's one little spot over there. I probably should have put something in. Fill that out a little bit. But I think otherwise, everything else looks really damn good. I might just leave it like that. Oh, there. A windmill. I probably should put at least one windmill or two there. So let's put it over here, my little... kind of like... There we are. Cute. And what is this? Another blacksmith? Okay. I'll see if I can have more than one blacksmith. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so last but not least, let's look at some fun with the map overlays. I'm talking, let's give ourselves a border here. Okay. Let's go and enable this and find a border that really completes the picture. Thank you. I think so too there, Marcel. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. So there you go. There we have a map. If I wanted to, I could go in further and name the city streets. I could go and put in a scale. I could do all kinds of things, but I like to go and label stuff in-game, so that way my players don't get overloaded with too much information off the bat. And that way I also can find out, what really does interest them. Because it's no fun labeling like, yes, the city hall over here is, Lord Bubble Tom's home, and he has this history when they care more about, who knows, maybe one of the marketplaces, one of the towers, you know what I mean? So, but, yep, there you have it. That is my little resort town of Juistiggle. Thank you all for hanging out here today. If you have any questions, by all means, comment now or put them in the comments in the video below, because below the video, because I'm going to be posting this on my channel in a few minutes. And otherwise, yeah, thank you for hanging out with me today. This actually was a lot more fun than I expected it to be. I may be doing more live streams going forward, not just strictly all video. But if you haven't already, by all means, give me a follow. If not, cool. Hope to see you again on the flip-flop. Yeah. So until next time, take care, stay awesome. I'm Flintworth, and, well,